Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I popped up on my Instagram stories the other week a poll trying to understand if you wanted to see a glam look or a recreation of my show day makeup, and it was kind of split 50-50. So what I've done is I've started with a natural glam look and I've just recorded myself doing how I would usually do my makeup if I was heading out, maybe on a night out, maybe on a day event. It's nothing too over the top, as you can see, but it's just something, a way that I like to do my makeup with like a brown smoky eye and keeping it nice, light and neutral. But yeah, so I do need to preface this and say I am not by any means a makeup artist. Everything that I do on myself or I've learned is either from YouTube, so this place itself, or from Naomi, who I'll tag, who is a makeup artist based in the UK, and she actually did some virtual lessons with me last year in lockdown, which were amazing, helped me so much. But yeah, so this is just what I do for myself. Don't hate, but it's just what I do, and yeah, a lot of you were sort of interested to understand what I do or how I do it, so let's see how I go and let's see what we can recreate. Now I'm just gonna go with the flow here, so I have an idea in mind. I mean, I tend to default to like a smoky brown eye just because that's what I love. So literally I'm going to start from the start. What I tend to do is I've already moisturized my face just with my normal moisturizer. At the moment I'm just using like a simple moisturizer, just because my skin can be a little bit sensitive, and I do go for like the non-comedogenic ranges or moisturizers just because they tend to not block your pores. So yeah, I've already moisturized my face. What I tend to always do is just put something on my lips before I start, because my lips get really dry, and I hate when you've done your makeup and you had really dry lips and you get foundation on them, but it's not my vibe. And then what I do go in with is this Embryolisse, don't know if you can see it, it's, I think I use this as like a, what do they call them, primer, but I just find when I use it, and I only use a little bit, but when I use it my makeup tends to go on a lot nicer, a lot smoother, and it looks a lot, it just sits on the face better and it looks a lot more flawless, you could say. What I'll do is any products that I use today I'll try and list in the description box below, just in case you wanted to check them out or anything. But yeah, so I just pop this on my face, and I'm going to be looking here because I have a little bit of a mirror. I'm again just going to do what I do, and if you have any tips for me on how I can do it better in the future, just let me know, chuck it in the comments. But yeah, this has worked for me so far. I have tried a bunch of different stuff. I think back when I used to live in Australia for a good like 2 or 3 years, I used to just like binge watch YouTube videos like Carly Bible, Desi Perkins, Jaclyn Hill, and I still watch them to this day. But I used to absolutely just like study the videos and like teach myself, and the amount of import fees I would pay for brands that they would use that I couldn't get in Australia, which now that I'm in the UK I can get them a little bit easier, but I mean I can get pretty much anything anywhere. But yeah, so I used to just binge watch those videos and just like consume all the makeup and try it all out on myself. So I've tried and failed so many times at different ways of doing my makeup, but this is kind of what I settled on for now, and I'm sure that's going to change as time passes, as makeup trends do change. But yeah, this is what kind of works for me. So grab a cup of tea or coffee and let's get ready together. Using the L'Oreal True Match as my foundation. I'm going to mix 2 colors together because yeah, I have no idea what color I am. I did put this foundation on last weekend to go out for my boyfriend's birthday, and I think I was a little too dark, but I think because competition was the other weekend, I'm used to like darker, I need to go darker, that I just don't know what color my skin is anymore. So we'll see how we go. What am I using? Then I use a Real Techniques brush just to pop it on my face. I'm just going to mix these 2 up together and then pop it on my face. And yeah, I'm not precious about it. I know that it should probably be a bit nicer when I put it on my face, but I'm just going to whack it on. Okay, I think we're good. Now next up I will go in with some concealer, and I tend to use a couple of concealers. I don't know why. I do know why, but like, it's weird. I use, so at the moment I've been using the Tarte Shape Tape for a while now, but I do like the Fenty. I think I find that it's a lot more, out of the two, the Shape Tape drier on your skin. So if you've got a sort of dry under eyes, I find that, I mean, I mix them so it doesn't really settle in, but people have said that it kind of like settles into your skin. But what I've actually found with the Fenty Beauty, it is a bit more, it's meant to be a bit more hydrating, but I have little lines under my eyes, and I find that this actually sets into them, so it kind of makes them a little bit more pronounced, which I didn't expect. But yeah, I think I'm still going to see how I go with it. I'll do the Fenty. I might do a dot of the LA Girl just to sort of mute the color a bit, and then for a little bit more coverage, I might use a dot of the e.l.f., which is pretty much a dupe for the Shape Tape. So I've read up a lot about this one, but apparently, yeah, if you're in the market and you're wanting the Shape Tape, you can go with the e.l.f., what do they call it? Camo concealer, 16-hour camo concealer, which is pretty much the same thing, and it's like a third of the price. So that's always a good thing. But yeah, I always found that the e.l.f. one was pretty good. Again, it is a little bit more on the dry side, but it is like a dupe of the Shape Tape, so it kind of makes sense then. But yeah, so I'll just do, I tend to create a bit of a C under my eye, and I try to put it on, and I don't go sort of right up into under my eye, because when I blend it with the Beauty Blender, I will blend it up. But I go in with a bit of a C. And then I just grab my Beauty Blender. So then I'll just tap it on the skin. And does anyone else like open their mouth like a weirdo like me when you're going under your eye, like to get right in there? Like I know what people do when they do mascara, but I also do it now. So excuse the weird faces, but. And I tend to blend out so that it, the purpose of it is obviously sort of like lighten up areas. So I tend to like bring it out here so that this is a little bit lighter, and then we'll go in and darken under the cheekbone a little bit, and then it can kind of create that whole dimension to the face. Cool. And then after I've done my concealer, I go in and cream contour. So I use this LA Girl Pro Concealer. What color is this? Toast. Yeah, this really works for me. I think you do have to work quickly with it because it can dry, so I tend to do one side, one cheek, blend it out, the next one, and then the other areas, so that it doesn't sort of like just stick on my face in like a wherever I've applied it. Some people put it on the cheekbone or underneath, but I find that if I put it on that very sort of edge of the cheekbone and then I blend it, it naturally sort of falls down a little bit, so it creates that shadow, versus if I put it too far underneath and then I'm blending it out, I'm blending like halfway down my face and then it's like in the middle of my cheek, which is not what I want. I don't want to pull it down too far. So I just put a little bit on, oh my hair, a little bit on here, and I bring it to about halfway, just like that. And then I'll grab my Beauty Blender again and use a different section and just blend up. And I always tend to blend into my hairline and up. And then I tend to add a little bit, so whatever's excess on my Beauty Blender, I try to add it to the high points of my forehead, just to create a little bit of shadow around the hairline. And on this side as well. Cool. I use the same LA Girl, and what I do is, because it's got a nice little end on it, so if you can see that, there's like a paintbrush. Just make sure that it's not sort of going to come off in a blob, because what you want to do is create, or what I do is I create a really thin line from just inside my eyebrow so that it connects, and I just sort of create a line over that over the high point of my nose bone, so that I sort of can create a little bit more shadow on either side. I think for me, what I try to focus on is I have a little bit of a bump here, so I try to keep the line super straight so that it then creates that straight shadow, so it kind of gives the illusion that you don't actually have. And see, if you bring two lines of the darker concealer close together, it creates that shape of having a thinner nose. You can even sort of, I tend to just sort of do a couple of dots of the dark concealer at the very end of my, so that it appears a little bit smaller. But yeah, you can sort of, there's different ways to contour for different nose shapes, so you got to find out what works for you. And I guess, you know, you can do that by either watching different tutorials or having a makeup artist sort of advise you on where to create the light and shadow, but that's just what I do for me, so I'll just go in now. And then I just do a little bit under the bottom of my lip, just on the sides, and then that's it. And then, so yeah, I just popped a little on the bottom of my nose, and then I actually just use my finger to blend it out. I blend in quite a lot. Some people prefer to leave a little bit more on the skin, which is totally fine. I mean, the purpose of contouring is to not blend it away completely, so that you still get that shadow and you're creating that shadow. I'm just gonna blend the bottom of my nose in. But for me, I like to keep it quite natural, so I do tend to sort of blend it in quite a bit, and I will go over it a little bit with a little bit of powder, so it's not gonna be the end of the world if I blend the lines out completely, but it's obviously not the aim. Pounce my beauty blender on top. It's kind of got nothing on it on this section, so it's really just sort of making sure that I'm getting rid of any of those harsh lines. So the next step is to do a bit of blush, and I do a bit of cream blush. And at the moment I'm loving this really hot pink blush that I use for show day, but I'll keep that for my show day recreation, that glam look, because it is just, I like a peachy pinky blush. So I'm actually going to start it with the peach base and then go in on top with a powder that's a little bit more pink or reddish, just because it creates a really nice shade, and you can really play around with blushes. I think blush is one of my favorite things. So I'm just going to put this on the back of my hand, and then I just go over the entire face just to set that all in, because obviously if we've used creams and we want to go into using powders, it can sometimes get a little bit like bits and piecey, so this kind of acts as a nice shield and a base in between, so that when I put powders on it next, it's got like a nice surface to go on that's not going to be like gripping to every bit of the product, because everything underneath was sort of creamy. And I just find that works for me. Not everyone needs to do it. Not everyone loves an additional step or an additional layer, but for me, I find it works. Because my skin can be quite oily at times, so it also, I guess, depends on your skin type. But I just find it just helps it a little bit more, and actually, now that I think about it, since I've been using that step, I haven't found my skin gets too oily or anything over time, which is nice. But yeah, I just added a really light layer of that anyway, so it wasn't like it was going to be too much to the skin. Now it is time to go in with the powders, so I will powder contour, or just like add a bit of powder contour to the places that I've already darkened. I will add some powder blush, and then I'll add my translucent powder and bake a little bit under my eyes to set my concealer and to just brighten them a little bit. So I just use an angled brush. This one's from MAC, because you can always build, whereas you can't take off with ease. So, and then what I do is I just press down and pat that into where I've already put that cream contour. Now I used to swipe. Apparently you're not meant to swipe because that's what creates that like muddy consistency. So now I just pat it on to where I've done it before. Pat a little bit up here, and then that should do the trick. And I just really lightly shake it up a lot, touch the pan, and then I'm gonna go over where I put that cream contour on my nose, just to darken it up lightly. It's, yep, Orgasm. So this is more of like a pinky, it would help if I actually pointed at the camera, a pinky shade, which is really nice. So I've got the peach base, and then I'm going on with a little bit of pinky shadow. I use a nice fluffy brush for this, and I just touch on really lightly, and again I smile as I apply it. A little bit over the nose to get that sun-kissed vibe. Now, translucent powder, the one that I swear by and have always used, is Mercier. Yeah. And a lot of people use it too. I find it's just the best one for me. So I'll pop it on, and then I'll make sure there's a bit of a thicker layer, and leave it on there so that it can do its thing. Because this stuff is like magic. Leave that on there. It's a bit of a layer. It's not too thick. It looks thicker on this viewfinder than it does in the mirror, but it's fine. And then yeah, that's it for the translucent palette. A brown smoky eye, so I'm going to use my Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. I've had this for ages. I feel literally like it's broken, hit pan at some points, but it still smells like chocolate. But yes, I tend to just sort of keep it real simple. I just tend to use a couple of shades, so I'll probably show you when I do them, but I use like more of the neutral skin color shade, and I just sort of start off by popping that into the crease and sort of sweeping it across. Then I'll darken it up with a bit of brown on the outside, depending on how deep I want it or what the event that I'm going to is. Maybe I'll add like the darkest brown in the corner, or maybe I'll even add black from another palette, but I really don't use a lot of black. I just tend to stick to really dark browns, and I'll just use that. And then on the lid, sometimes I'll either leave it blank and I'll just have it sort of be a little bit lighter in the corner, or I'll add in like this really nice rose gold, a goldy shimmer tone. That is what I prefer. But yeah, that's just what I'm going to do now. So I tend to just keep it super light, super easy, and the key apparently is to just blend. But yeah, I tend to find that no, my eyes don't ever look the same, which is fine. They're not really meant to. Well, you could argue they're not meant to, but I think this one is darker than this one, but they also are a slightly different shape, and like I have quite hooded eyes, which means like the skin kind of falls down a little bit, so one tends to be a little bit more hooded than the other, which is delightful. So I think that's as dark as I'm going to have them for more of like a everyday natural glam look. Then what I'm going to do is grab more of like a pencil brush, and I actually might use this pencil brush. I'm going to grab that really dark brown, darker shade of the palette, and just tap a bit off, and then just add it to that outer corner, or the outer V, to darken it up a bit. And what you'll see me do is I tend to like drag it out a little bit to the end of my eyebrow, just so it creates that smokiness on its own without me having to do too much. you can use a brush like this. But what I might do is just use my finger, because I think it tends to just like press it. If you just press it on top of your lid, it looks quite nice, and the pigment tends to stay a little bit more. I think whenever using a glitter, they tend to say if you like push and swipe, that's when it tends to come out the best. Crease, and I'm just gonna go on my waterline just to create a little bit of depth and bring the color down a little bit under the eye to really complete it, so that it's not kind of left on its own. Your eyebrows, so I've just got a little bit of a spoolie here, and I'm gonna comb through my eyebrows. So what I'm gonna do now is just wipe off any of that excess powder underneath, and I wonder if, yeah, it looks so much better. So you can actually see a visible difference when I've wiped it off. Sometimes it's very subtle, but on the viewfinder here, because it's so prominent when it goes on, it actually makes a difference when it comes off. So again, just a light hand to get rid of any of that, and then that's all fine. And then what I will do now is just bronze up the face a little bit. Add a little bit of highlight, so I've got the MAC Soft and Gentle, this one, Mineralized Skin Finish, and I just add this to the high points of my cheekbone, a little bit under the brow. It's broken also, so bear with me. It's one of these where the lid has just like broken off, so I'll just use this finger and I'll just add it to the high points of my cheekbone. It's like creating that C there, so it's a little bit more glistening. I don't know if you can see that, but add a bit of highlight there. Now for eyelashes. Now for lips. So I am obsessed with the Fenty Beauty glosses at the moment, so I'm going to be using this light one today. It is in the colour Sweet Mouth, but I've got it in like 3 other shades. I think Fussy and Glow, Fenty Glow. They're amazing. But what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to keep the lips quite light, I'm going to use this NYX lip liner in the colour Dainty Days, which is like a nice pink. It's pretty much my lip colour when I look at it. And now that I've done that, then I like to just add a little bit of gloss. And then that is it. Let's split out this horrendous hair. I mean, it's not horrendous, but it's just washed yesterday, so it's fresh and it's just not doing anything for me because I haven't styled it. But anyway, this is my completed look for a natural glam look. So thank you for watching, and again, this is just how I do my makeup, and I'm by no means a skilled professional. I definitely need help, and I do actually love to get my makeup done by others as well, but I also just love doing it myself and playing around with it. I've done it for years now, so yeah, I think that's just something that I enjoy doing, and I'm always in the market for new makeup and trying out new things. I think I just don't go out enough to wear it enough, but hey. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.